Business Report.
Good evening. Tonight, government proposes legal reforms to boost foreign direct investment through enhanced tax incentives and policy support. September tea production falls by 9% year-on-year amid challenges in mid and low-grown elevations. Sri Lanka's stock market sees mixed movement as ASPI gains 0.39%, while S&P SL20 declines 0.12% amid economic uncertainty. And Wall Street declines as mixed corporate earnings and global concerns weigh on investor sentiment.
From Studio 24C, here's Anuradi Vikramasinghe.
Good evening and welcome to the Nightly Business Report on Other Derana News Channel. The government has approved amendments to the Strategic Development Projects Act to allow targeted tax incentives aimed at reviving major foreign investments like the Hambantota Oil Refinery and Port City projects.
The Cabinet of Ministers has approved amendments to the Strategic Development Projects Act to enable tax incentives for attracting foreign direct investment in large-scale projects. This legal change aims to bypass current limitations on tax incentives imposed by an IMF program. The move is expected to revive stalled investments such as the $3.7 billion Hambantota Oil Refinery and Port City projects. While the IMF has warned that tax exemptions can weaken government revenue, the government plans to offer limited project-specific incentives to support economic recovery. Critics, including the World Bank and Human Rights Watch, caution that tax concessions may harm public finances and increase social inequality.
Sri Lankan credit card spending surged in August, reflecting growing consumer confidence and improving household incomes amid economic expansion. Credit card debt rose sharply by 2.89 billion rupees in August, up from 373 million in July, contributing to a total outstanding credit card debt of 164.17 billion rupees. Private sector credit continued its strong growth, with licensed commercial banks extending over 200 billion rupees in new credit for 2 consecutive months. Despite high interest rates of around 26% per annum on credit cards, consumers increased spending on essentials and discretionary categories like dining and leisure. The number of active credit cards also grew, reaching 2,102,537 in August, with over 14,000 new cards issued that month. September 2025 tea production fell 9% year-on-year, mainly due to declines in mid and low-grown elevations. However, cumulative output for the first 9 months showed a slight 1% increase compared to last year, signaling steady growth overall.
Tea production in Sri Lanka dropped by 9% in September 2025, totaling 22.18 million kilograms compared to 24.39 million kilograms in the same month last year. The decline was primarily driven by lower output in the mid and low-grown elevations, while the high-grown saw a modest increase. Despite the monthly drop, September's production was 17% higher than in 2023, indicating a recovery from a lower base. For the first 9 months of 2025, cumulative tea production rose 1% to 199.09 million kilograms compared to 196.87 million kilograms during the same period in 2024. All elevations except low-grown showed growth over the previous year.
The government of Sri Lanka is developing a national building code with technical support from the World Bank to improve construction safety and quality nationwide. The new code will cover structural integrity, fire safety, electrical and plumbing systems, energy efficiency and disaster resilience. This initiative addresses critical gaps in construction sector that have persisted due to the absence of enforceable national standards. The World Bank is assisting key agencies, including the National Building Research Organization, in formulating the code's network. The project, now approved by the Cabinet, aligns with the IMF's recommendations for climate-resilient building regulations. Let's take a short break now. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. Sri Lanka's stock market showed mixed performance today, with the ASPI rising while the S&P SL20 slipped slightly. Investors remain cautious amid ongoing economic and global uncertainties. For further insight from this, we have Dilhari Dias from First Capital Holdings.
Thank you, Anuradi. The Colombo bourse extended its bullish sentiment during the day, where all share price index hit 22,851, gaining around 60 points. Similar to yesterday, the index moved steadily up during the first half, where it gradually came down during the latter half. Due to the drop in big cap counters, S&P SL20 index decreased by approximately 7 points to 6,270. Haley's PLC, Ceylon Grain Elevators, Richard Peary's and Company PLC, Cargill Ceylon PLC and Bairaha Farms PLC emerged as key positive contributors to the index. While modest retail investor participation was observed, high net worth investors drove the rally. Turnover stood at 9.2 billion rupees, which was 24% higher than the monthly average that stood at 7.5 billion rupees. Banking sector dominated turnover, contributing by 22% to the total, while the capital goods and energy sectors collectively accounted for 29%. The top three price gainers were Industrial Asphalt Ceylon PLC, Radiance Gem International PLC and Lake House Printers and Publishers, whereas the top three price losers were Haris Chandra Mills PLC, Bansai Royal Resorts Hikkaduwa and Hela Apparel Holdings. Thank you.
Sri Lanka's National Consumer Price Index reflects ongoing changes in the country's inflation and cost of living. Recent data provides insights into price trends affecting everyday consumers across various sectors. For further insights on this, we have Ranjan Ranatunga from First Capital Holdings.
Thank you, Anuradhi. Sri Lanka's National Consumer Price Index, or the NCPI, measured on a EOA basis, recorded an inflation of 2.1% in September 2025, up from 1.5% recorded in August 2025. The growth in inflation was driven by both food and non-food categories, where food inflation contributed to 1.7 percentage points, while non-food group contributed to 0.4% percentage point to the overall inflation. Food inflation accelerated to 3.8% in the month of September from 2.9% recorded in the previous month, largely driven by increases in limes, coconuts, milk powder, chicken and sugar, while the non-food prices also increased to 0.7% from 0.4% in the previous month, mainly due to the higher prices in education, household, restaurants and beverages and miscellaneous items. Meanwhile, on non-food category, transportation costs reduced during the month. On a month-over-month basis, the NCPI rose slightly to 207.4 index points in September from 207.2 in August, marking a 0.1% increase. Meanwhile, the core inflation, which excludes the volatile items such as food prices and electricity, increased to 1.9% from 1.5% recorded in the previous month. Thank you.
Gold prices rose nearly 1% in Asian trade today, regaining some ground after 2 sessions of sharp declines as renewed US-China trade tensions lifted safe haven demand while investors awaited key US inflation data. Spot gold was up 0.9% at $4,137.40 an ounce, while US gold futures climbed 2% to $4,144.89. Other precious and industrial metals also rebounded as a largely steady US dollar provided support. Silver futures jumped 2% to $48.63 per ounce, while platinum futures climbed 1% to $1,593.60 an ounce. Benchmark copper futures on the London Metal Exchange rose 0.4% to $10,712.20 a ton, while US copper futures also gained 0.4% to $5.03 a pound. Oil prices rose sharply in early Asian trade today after US President Donald Trump announced sanctions on Russia's largest oil companies, a move that stands to potentially crimp global supplies. Brent oil futures for December jumped as much as 3% to $64.44 a barrel, while West Texas Intermediate crude futures rose 3% to $60.26 a barrel. Both contracts were trading up about 2.8%. Oil prices recovered from 5-month lows hit earlier this week after data showed US inventories under unexpectedly shrank in the week to October 17th. Inventories shrank by 0.96 million barrels against expectations for a 2.2 million barrel build. Draws in gasoline and distillate stockpiles also helped spur some optimism over demand in the world's largest fuel consumer. The Sri Lankan rupee has depreciated further against the US dollar at commercial banks in Sri Lanka today compared to yesterday, with some reaching the 300 rupee mark. The buying rate of the US dollar has increased from 299 rupees and 85 cents to 300 rupees and 25 cents, while the selling rate has also increased from 305 rupees and 35 cents to 305 rupees and 75 cents. With that, let's take a closer look on how the Sri Lankan rupee has performed against other major global currencies. We're going in for a short break. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. Haley's PLC, Sri Lanka's most diversified conglomerate, is set to make a landmark entry into the large-scale supermarket sector. This bold venture marks a new era in the group's 148-year legacy, aiming to redefine the nation's modern retail experience.
Haley's private limited company, Sri Lanka's most diversified conglomerate, has announced its strategic entry into the large-scale supermarket sector. This move marks a significant milestone in the group's 148-year legacy of diversification and value creation. The initiative aims to redefine the modern retail experience by offering quality, reliability, and service excellence to everyday Sri Lankan consumers. Haley's plans to launch 100 outlets across key urban and suburban locations, strengthening its nationwide presence. The venture will further diversify the group's earnings portfolio while enhancing long-term financial stability and stakeholder value. Leveraging its expertise in logistics, manufacturing, and service, Haley's is poised to build a value-driven retail ecosystem that supports inclusive growth and national development.
Express Jobs, Sri Lanka's leading online recruitment platform, has been named the official recruitment partner for the Automobile Industry Awards 2025, the nation's first ever platform recognizing excellence in the automotive sector. The partnership was formalized through an MOU signed at the Ministry of Education between representatives of the Automobile Skills Council and Express Jobs. The awards, themed Honoring Legends, Inspiring Futures, will take place on the 18th of December at the Temple Trees Convention Center. Organized by the Automobile Industry Council and endorsed by key government ministries, the event will celebrate innovation and leadership across 80 award categories covering 20 industry sectors. As recruitment partner, Express Jobs will support workforce development through its AI-powered CV-less recruitment technology, helping employers and job seekers connect more efficiently. Dimo, the sole authorized distributor for Tata Motors in Sri Lanka, has unveiled its flagship Tata passenger vehicle showroom at Altair, Colombo. This launch marks a major milestone in Dimo's nationwide expansion strategy, enhancing accessibility and redefining the urban automotive experience.
Dimo, the sole authorized distributor for Tata Motors in Sri Lanka, has unveiled its flagship Tata passenger vehicle showroom at Altair, Colombo, marking a major milestone in its expansion strategy. The new premium facility enhances customer accessibility and convenience while offering a central destination to experience the full Tata passenger vehicle range. Its opening follows new showroom launches in Kurunegala, Galle, and Minneriya, with further expansions planned in Batticaloa, Kandy, and Jaffna. Dimo's growth initiative aligns with rising demand for passenger vehicles and aims to make personal mobility more accessible across the island. The company is also strengthening ownership convenience through expanded after-sales services, EV charging units, genuine parts availability, and flexible financing options.
Kia Motors Lanka has unveiled two groundbreaking models in Colombo, the 2026 Kia Sorento Hybrid and the all-new Kia EV5 electric SUV. This dual launch marks Kia's biggest introduction since Sri Lanka lifted import restrictions, showcasing the brand's evolution from traditional SUVs to innovative sustainable mobility. The Sorento hybrid combines advanced hybrid technology, spacious luxury, and a suite of safety features catering to both urban and rugged terrains. Meanwhile, the EV5, Kia's first fully electric SUV in Sri Lanka, offers impressive range, cutting-edge technology, and eco-friendly design aimed at millennial families. Kia plans to expand its hybrid and electric lineup in 2026, reinforcing its commitment to intelligent, connected, and sustainable vehicles. H&B plc has partnered with Brown's EV to offer flexible leasing solutions for Brown's growing range of electric vehicles. This collaboration supports Sri Lanka's shift towards sustainable transport by making EV ownership more accessible and affordable.
H&B plc has entered a strategic partnership with Brown's EV to provide flexible leasing solutions for Brown's electric vehicle lineup. This collaboration aims to make electric mobility more accessible to Sri Lankan consumers through tailored and competitive financing options. H&B's commitment to supporting the country's transition to a low-carbon economy is reflected in this initiative. Brown's EV offers a range of affordable, reliable, and zero-emission vehicles suited for both urban and suburban use. The partnership also includes end-to-end leasing support such as competitive interest rates, doorstep documentation, and insurance facilitation.
Let's take a short commercial break. Global business updates coming on the other side. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. Most Asian stock markets extended losses today, with shares in Japan and China leading declines as Washington reportedly ratcheted up trade tensions with Beijing again. In Japan, the Nikkei 225 index dropped 1.5% today, extending losses after reaching a record high earlier this week. The broader Topix index fell 0.5%. China's blue chip Shanghai Shenzhen CSI 300 traded 0.6% lower, while the Shanghai Composite declined 0.7%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng edged down 0.2%, dragged down by the Hang Seng Tech Sub-Index dropping 0.8%. Elsewhere, Australia's S&P ASX 200 and Singapore's Straits Times Index were largely unchanged. India's Nifty 50 rose 0.7%, largely bucking the regional trend. Wall Street closed lower as a wave of mixed earnings, including Netflix's disappointing results, dampened risk sentiment as investors assess reports that the Trump administration is considering curbs on exports to China made with U.S. software.
Wall Street closed lower on Wednesday, with the Dow dropping about 0.7%, the S&P 500 losing just over 0.5%, and the Nasdaq falling close to 1%. Investors grew cautious after reports said the Trump administration is considering limits on exports to China that use U.S. software. All three indexes extended losses after the news, with weakness in tech and communication services weighing the Nasdaq down the most. Stocks on the move Wednesday included Tesla, which dipped in extended trading despite reporting record revenue. Profit per share, however, missed analysts' estimates. Shares of Netflix slid 10% after the streaming company missed quarterly profit expectations, raising concerns about a stretched valuation. And shares of Intuitive Surgical jumped nearly 14% after the company posted better than expected third-quarter earnings. The results were driven by growing demand for its surgical robots that are used in minimally invasive procedures.
Budget airline Norwegian Air Shuttle beat market expectations for its third-quarter earnings, helped by higher demand during the summer across its markets.
Carrier Norwegian Air Shuttle beat market expectations for its third-quarter earnings on Wednesday. It was boosted by higher summer demand across its markets. The budget airline said its quarterly operating profit was the highest in its history. It's jumped 41% year-on-year to $300.7 million in the July to September quarter, well above analyst forecasts. Norwegian's unit costs, which is the average cost of flying an aircraft seat, fell 5% from a year earlier. The airline said it was able to counter that financial pressure thanks to initiatives in its cost-cutting program, as well as the strengthening of the Norwegian crown against the US dollar. Meanwhile, its CEO told Reuters recent drone sightings and air incursions in Norway and Denmark were, quote, definitely having an impact on cancellations and revenue loss. The airline industry is slowly recovering from the pandemic-induced slump, but still faces rising costs.
Thank you for watching the Nightly Business Report on Other Derana News Channel. We value your opinions, so please share your thoughts and feedback with us through email at feedback.adncenglish@derana.lk or via WhatsApp at 076-805-7933. We'll see you again tomorrow with the latest updates across the business globe, and Vinod Barnasurya will join you next with Other Derana Sports Central. Until then, I'm Anuradha Vikramasinghe. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good night.